Cool.
Hello everyone, welcome to another show, and in today's show we're going to be talking about why Google Ads conversion tracking is so important, and we're going to be discussing, how you can go about setting that up for your business as well. In studio I have Thomas. How's it, bud?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jandre?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thomas is our senior Google Ads specialist in V8.
Yeah, I try to be.
No, bro, you've done well so far. I mean, you've been with us for how long? 2.5 years now?
Yeah. Just over,
Just over 2 years.
Yeah, just over 2 years.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
man. Nice to have
This
you.
is the anniversary month, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, there you go.
There you go.
Welcome
2
to the
years.
podcast.
Yeah, boy.
Awesome, man. So with that said, we want to just dive into conversion tracking for Google Ads. It's a massive pain point for a lot of businesses, especially if they're spending money on Google and they're not being able to track what they're actually doing. They're all flying blind. So we just want to unpack, Tom, why that's important and how to go about setting it up. So with that said, just dive straight in, shall we? I think where can we begin? My mind is rolling towards maybe just explain to people why conversion tracking is even important, because as much as we want to explain how to set it up, it's also a matter of understanding why is it even necessary in the first place.
Okay, perfect. So what I like to do, like when we're dealing with new clients, just to let them know the importance of conversion tracking. So we tell them, hey, these are the expectations. These are cool things we can do, Google Ads, etc., etc. But it's all well and done. But like, if you don't have conversion tracking, there's no use just spending money over the long term in Google Ads. So the important factor in conversion tracking is that you as a business have certain metrics that you're looking at. Number one thing that everyone looks at is sales, right? Now, there's certain actions that happen before sales, but that's the main thing we look at. Now, you as a business, that's a sale. If you're doing e-commerce, there's a direct sale on the website. If you're a business that leads or calls or like quotes filled in, form submits or emails, those are leads that we're tracking. So when we're tracking these metrics, that's what our conversions inside Google Ads. Now, when you say conversion tracking, it could be anything that's important for you as a business. If your business prioritizes people actually calling, we'd be like, okay, Google, this is the main conversion that we want to be tracking. And yeah, we set that up and we tested it to make sure it's proper. And yeah, so that's the main importance of Google conversion tracking. And also, many clients, like, it's a thing where they'd be running Google Ads campaigns, but they wouldn't really know what they're getting out of the platform. Whether it's Google or TikTok or whatever, but they'll be like, yeah, we get this number of leads, we get in this many quotes, but they wouldn't really be sure how many are actually coming from the platform that they're spending money on. And that's the main important thing with conversion tracking, because as we'll speak about in the future, when we look at these metrics, that's what we're doing the optimization towards. They're like the analogy we like to use, just like it's in true north,
Yeah.
If you're looking at a compass, yeah, cool, there's Africa, there's Paraguay or whatever. But where's true north? Cool, that's true north. Where's Paraguay relative to true north? Where's your goal relative to true north? Like, how are we doing relative to true north? So that's the importance of conversion tracking. Hopefully I didn't use too many words there, but yeah.
Perfect summary there. Thank you so much for that. I think, it's safe to assume that it's like a compass, and we need to keep looking at it in order to ensure that we're moving towards the goal that we've set out for ourselves, and having tracking in place will allow us to measure the right metrics so that we can actually get to that goal. I think the one barrier that people face is they have sometimes very complicated platforms, tech platforms, website platforms, which might hinder the installing of specific codes or making it easy to do. Like, it's still possible, but there are hurdles that has to be overcome in order to get that conversion tracking working. And we face that problem as an agency all the time. Someone comes on board and they might not be on what we would call a tech savvy platform, like a Shopify or a WooCommerce, where it's quickly and easily set up. So some people might be on a custom site, or they've been sold on this complex Magento platform. In the meantime, there was an agency just being super greedy on the back of that, and the client is sitting with this massively overcomplicated, overkill website that's just not necessary. I think maybe we can just touch on what would be ideal if you're not someone who's tech savvy. What platforms should you be looking at when it comes to building a site, and what hurdles you might face if you go a different route?
All right. Yeah, so the main websites you're looking for, if you're selling stuff online, everybody knows it's going to be Shopify and it's going to be WooCommerce. And then you've got a host of all these other clients' sites over there, as you mentioned, Magento and stuff like that. But if your main goal is just to make it as simple as possible for you to do your end goal, which is to make sales, just choose what's the market leaders. All right. And then when it comes to your business, just for lead generation, and by that, just generating inquiries, getting quotes, and such stuff like that, just go with the WordPress website. That's just the most basic. The reason I say that is because you got your website, you got your customer, and then you got these other tools that you're going to plug to your website. So one of the tools when you come into an agency, like if you want to do paid media, one of those tools is Google Ads. It's going to be Facebook ads and Meta ads. Now, when we talk about, because we mentioned the importance of conversion tracking. So you got your platform, let's say it's Shopify. When you're connecting your Google ads to the Shopify platform, you want that when someone clicks on an ad, which is a Google ad, and someone purchases where? On your platform, your Shopify website, you want there to be like that attribution, like, okay, no, this sale came from Google ads. Now, the challenge with conversion tracking is that someone doesn't have a Shopify. They're using some other website, like let's say it's Magento or a custom just a custom website, right? A custom website. We're trying to do the work of like, hey, Google, let's connect to this custom website. This is what a conversion is. Hey, someone filled in a form. Someone bought something. But the code that goes on the site isn't really correlating. You try to do the test of conversion, it's not really working. So that's the issue over there.
Yeah, because at the internet, like, Google makes it seem very simple. Like, hey, just put this code over there. And when you email the developer, or when you, as the developer, put the code where it's sometimes supposed to be, it just sometimes doesn't work that way. Call it what you want. There's a magic black hole sucking in lines of code that's, I don't know what it is, but it's always an issue. The moment a client has a custom site, or when they have an overly bulky Magento site, it's almost like we all cringe. We're all like, oh, shit, this is going to be a nightmare. And it usually is for some reason. And it's unknown really why. But because the developers will tell you there's nothing wrong. It's so easy. All you have to do is put this code on there. And when you do, 80% of the time it doesn't work. And it happens almost like religiously, at that percentage. So, yeah, I think it is so important to make sure that if you are going to embark on this business venture of yours, and if you've decided that a website is necessary, hopefully, you believe that it is, then it's so crucial just to pick the right platform to go with, because it makes everything else so much easier. A lot of people would say, do I go with WooCommerce or Shopify? And I say, look, it's like Apple or Android. Doesn't really matter. Both of them are really amazing platforms, and both of them will plug into tools like Meta Ads and Google Analytics, and it's easy to do that. Even if you can't do it with the lines of code, you can do it with plugins that are available. Where custom built sites and Magento sites, it gets really tricky. And I mean, this conversation is purely for small to medium-sized businesses. So there are massive enterprise companies sitting there, and there might be a CMO sitting somewhere, well, I might disagree with this. Sure, you might. But remember, we're speaking specifically to small to medium-sized business owners who are limited budgets and want to spend the least amount of money in getting things up and running, but then more money on actually getting results. And I think sometimes you have to spend so much money trying to get all the setup done just because of the complicated platform that you've chosen. And then you have got very little money left for marketing in itself, because it was sucked, the budget was sucked out of the developer at 1,000 Rand an hour that had to do his job and so forth.
Yeah. And yeah, and we do understand, because look, if you're a business owner, you're not going to be as tech savvy as someone who's been seeing dozens, like hundreds of clients over like many years and so forth, right? So we do understand that, which is why, I mean, you're watching this right now, like we do suggest just go with what's more popular in terms of the platforms, like if you're going to advertise social media, are you going to go directly to Pinterest? No, you're going to go where the highest reach, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. But yeah,
100%, man. Maybe we can touch on the different types of ways there are right now in order to get your tracking set up.
Oh, sweet.
So we can just, because I mean, from what I understand from a Google Ads perspective, there's two things that you need to consider. There is the code that you add across the whole website, and then there's also the small snippet of code that you only put on the thank you page. And there's also the option to track a button, specifically the event in itself. Exactly. So maybe we can just articulate a little bit better on the different types of things needed from Google Ads in order to get conversion tracking set up, and maybe just unpack the different types of ways of doing that.
All right. So first and foremost, as mentioned before, what are the main business metrics that you want to track? So let's make an example. I'm a business, I'm a law firm. I care about getting leads. I want inquiries for my business. That's why I want to get some Google Ads going on. I want to track conversions. So immediately we're going to be looking at, okay, your law firm, what are the main ways that you're getting business at the moment? So what is your current business model? What are you getting at the moment? The law firm, they're getting maybe people are filling in a form on the site. Great. So form on the site, and ask them, are there any other ways people are contacting you? Oh no, maybe people are sending us an email directly. Great. Maybe they have an email button near the top. Cool. That's something else. We see a phone number there at the top of the site. Like, hey, Mr. Client, do people call you often? It's like, oh, not as much, as mainly the form. Okay, great. So we're looking at those three metrics at the moment in this
well, those are the three things you want to track specifically.
Exactly.
Okay. So what you're saying is identifying the things that you actually want to track.
Exactly.
Step one.
Identify what is it that you want as a business. Step two, we're going to get into the back end of the website. All right. So, before we get into that, there are different ways to actually track these conversions. So for Google, one of the ways is, it's kind of a roundabout way, where you have another platform like Google Analytics, which is now called GA4. So it's the fourth edition of Google Analytics. And not to get too deep into what it does, but long story short, Google Analytics will tell you what are people doing when they land in your website, how are they behaving, how many pages they're clicking, and so forth. And then how they're entering the site, what are they doing, how they're exiting the site. And then you can do you can have conversions on Google Analytics if it's been set up before. And then whatever conversions you have set up before, such as, fill in the form, click on the email, click on the call, you can link Google Analytics to Google Ads and import those conversions. So that is one way. And we generally don't suggest you go that route directly, because as at the moment of recording, ask any marketer in Google Ads and GA4 or people who use GA4. It's just GA4.
It's a bit glitchy still.
It's a little glitchy. It's not the greatest. It is a great product, but in terms of conversion tracking for Google Ads, we suggest rather just connecting your Google Ads directly to the site, which is method number 2. So we're going to look at those 3 conversion actions. You go inside Google Ads. You say, hey, I want to track someone who filled in a form, and then even on the site, if you're doing this yourself, you go on the site, you fill in the form, you see what happens. Is there a thank you page? If there's no thank you page, you're going to have to change your strategy. If there is a thank you page, you're going to take the URL of that thank you page, and that's going to be your conversion action for that. But for email example, if someone clicks on an email, there's no thank you page for that. So you're going to have to find another route, which I'll get into just now. But if you want to track the thank you page as a conversion, you're going to go inside Google Ads, and there's going to be a global site tag. But as you mentioned, there's going to be an event snippet for that specific action of a thank you page. Now you can set that up with putting the global code on the site and the header on the site usually. And if you're not sure what I mean, your web developer should know this kind of stuff. But
if I can, in layman's terms, unpack it, it's basically you have a piece of code that will go on every single page of the site.
Correct.
So that's what we call, if you put it in the header, automatically it'll be distributed to every single page. And the reason you want that is because you want to see through Google Analytics what's happening on every single page. And also that code will track the behavior of all the different visitors and potentially allow you to remarket to them down the line as well, right? Yeah. So you want that code specifically on all the pages, which is the head section of the site. Yeah. And then there is the specific code that you have on the thank you page or on the button specifically, which will then correlate with the main code the global site tag, basically, as we call it.
It's like a VIN.
Exactly. So when that one fires, it means that you got a conversion, right?
Yeah.
So the main piece of code that goes across the header, that allows you to track all the behaviors of everybody, and so forth. And then when that specific code gets hit, the snippet that we're talking about now on the thank you page or on the button, then you're telling Google, I got the conversion I wanted to track specifically, right?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. And then those are lead generation examples. And then the third way is through a tool called Google Tag Manager, which is just the preferred method.
Yeah.
Now,
and does make your life a little bit easier.
It does, like a big time.
Maybe we can just talk a little bit about exactly what that is and how it works.
All right. So another word for it is GTM. So if you ever heard the word GTM, it's Google Tag Manager. And what it is that a tag in industry lingo is just basically codes. It's a synonym for codes. So you can think of it as your website can have multiple codes from different softwares. You can have code from Facebook. You can have code from Google Analytics. You have code from Google Ads. Even Hotjar, just for track what people are doing. So there's all these kind of codes that go on your website. Now, it's great to have all these things because you want to maximize your marketing to try to get all this data, get sales, and so forth. But the downside is the more coding you put in your website, the slower you can affect the speed of your website, right? So, that's why some sites will have all these codes over there and kind of affects the speed. And site speed affects what? When people visit your site, they'll be like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for them. Let me bounce. Let me go somewhere else.
Exactly.
All right. So, Google had this product where it manages all these tags, all these codes. And it can get a little confusing to try to think because you've got Google Analytics, Google Ads. Google
But it's
Tag
almost
Manager.
like a software tool or it's almost like one code that you can manipulate. And that's exactly what I wanted to say. It's like the one code to rule them all.
Yeah.
And it's basically you adding the Google Tag Manager script to the site. And then through that, you can then basically, it's almost like a backdoor.
Yeah.
A backdoor to the site where now you can go and put your Facebook pixel on there, your TikTok pixel, your LinkedIn pixel.
Yeah.
All of that gets done on Google Tags Manager, but you don't need access to the site anymore. So it's almost like if you don't have access to the developer yourself anymore, or you don't have to want to pay a developer 650 Rand an hour to put a script on, though every time
It's back and forth.
the Google Tag Manager acts as that backdoor that you can use as a business owner or as just a general marketer or as a freelancer or a consultant to help the client, whatever it may be, in order to add the necessary tracking stuff to the site, regardless of the platform, that whether it's Hotjar for screen recordings or heat maps or essentially Google Tag Manager does all of that for you, really.
Yeah.
Is that what that's basically?
That's basically, yeah. And what's great, you just put Google Tag Manager code over there, and then instead of constantly log into the site to do all the conversion tracking and so forth, you go log into Google Tag Manager, and inside there you can do, track anything on the site that you want to count as a conversion. So in our case, as our law firm, we go over there, be like, okay, there's a thank you page there. We create an event for that, and then you can also put the Google Ads codes inside Google Tag Manager, of course. And so we're tracking the thank you page. And when you mentioned earlier on about the buttons, it's a cool thing about Google Tag Manager because, not to sound too technical, but the Google Tag Manager will kind of find different codes on your website in the back end that tells us a certain button was clicked or a certain action has happened. So someone clicked on an email, there's going to be certain information in a data layer that's going to be, these are going to be the variables that we're going to put into our event snippet. So it's a way of saying that, hey, Google, when this action happens, I want you to tell me it happened.
Yes.
Like every time it happens, I want you to tell me it happens. I'm going to name this thing that happened to be someone clicked on the email button at the top of the website. Or, so that's going to be one of the variables. Or if someone clicked and the text said info at vamedia.co.za or something like that, I want you to be like, hey, this is... And the nice thing about it is that you can even get even more granular. Like, hey, if it said info at, how many people converted on that? Or if it said sales at, how many people converted on that? But you can get pretty granular and the number of things you can track as a conversion. And a case in point, not that you have to do this, but let's say, for example, our law firm has different forms on the website. So someone's got some like injury consultation, or just all these other services. And maybe there's different landing pages for that. Now, on one hand, sometimes you can tell Google Tag Manager, like, okay, whatever page on the website, if someone clicks and it goes to a thank you page, I want you to count that as a form submit conversion, right? But if you want to get a little bit granular, because at the end, you want to find out how many inquiries are coming from Google Ads, great, but what if you want more information about that? How many inquiries of injury law prevention in the consultations do you have? You don't really know, but you can tell Google, you can create different conversion actions if you want. Where
you're saying like
pages.
It's like being able to identify the different types of interest in the different services that you have, I suppose, right?
Exactly.
So it's understanding that as a business, you might have multiple services, and this can help you identify what services people are actually interested in. And you can also get a better idea of how your advertising budget, how it is being split between those interests. So if you're going to be spending 5,000 Rand a month on marketing, you're going to start seeing, but hold on, 70% of people are interested in this service and 30% of people are interested in that service. So that's basically what you're alluding to, right?
Exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah. But in general, I mean, if you want to really keep it simple, just do basic conversion tracking, track the call, track the number of leads, and use Google Tag Manager is just the way to do it. Now, another way if you're not a law firm, if you're not doing this to get leads to your site,
Yeah.
if you're an e-commerce business, there are plugins that you can get that connect you from your platform. Let's say using Shopify or WooCommerce, you get a plugin and you connect that plugin to Google Ads, and it's just
Yeah. Works almost every single time. 99% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah, it's 100% success rate.
So I think that concludes really the show today, and I wanted to just unpack like conversion tracking, the importance of it, and I just see a lot of clients come through, and most of them don't have this in place, and they're basically flying blind. And for all of them, we want to say that you've almost been wasting money, even though you might have had a success. You could have been doing so much better without actually knowing it. And even if you're struggling, you potentially could have made it if you were just tracking things accordingly. So nothing is more important than conversion tracking at the end of the day. So if you are going to
foundation,
if you're going to consider Google Ads, you need to make sure that your conversion tracking is set up before you start spending money on the platform. It's just wise to do it that way. And I think, we'll round the show off with a simple conclusion. And that is that if you're going to be building a site from scratch yourself, pick a tech-savvy platform like Shopify or WooCommerce or WordPress. That way you can integrate your scripts, your tracking scripts quite easily. If you are going to be building something custom or like a complicated platform like Magento, just ask yourself if it's truly necessary. Maybe get a second opinion. I think this is like the medical space. Like you can't just go on one person's perspective. Oh, you need a custom site. For all you know, he's greedy and want to make some money.
Yeah.
So it's really asking yourself, is it truly necessary? And how will it affect me down the line? Because a lot of people are short-term driven. They're not really thinking beyond the next 6 to 12 months. And, can you afford to have a custom site? And can you keep feeding it and paying for all the little tweaks and changes at an hourly rate of $650 to sometimes 2,000 Rand an hour? And if you want to add a script on there, something that you can most likely do yourself, whether if it was a Shopify or WooCommerce platform, or someone on your team, someone even on your team will be able to do it for you. And then when it comes to the different ways to add the tracking scripts, it's safe to assume that there's the manual way where you actually go into the code, and we would advise that you use a developer for that.
Yeah.
You have the Google Analytics linking option that you discussed. Then you have the plugins that you just mentioned, and you said our favorite way of doing it is just Google Tag Manager. If you can get that working, then you can almost tweak anything else on the fly without having to stress about developing costs or breaking anything unnecessary. Because that's another thing, is like adding a bunch of codes on the site.
It's often variables now.
Increase the risk of breaking the site somehow. So thanks for being here today, man. Really appreciated it.
100%. Thanks, man.
For those of you out there, if you enjoyed the show, if there was some value in it for you, I want to encourage you to consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. And in the meantime, we'll see you next time. Cheers.